So I wanted to start by asking you about the genesis of the film because your earlier film, Smithereens, which I'm sure many people have seen know about, was very much an independent and a personal project for you. And this film came through a script that was sent to you, but I gather from reading your memoir that the script was a bit of a different thing when you got it, and then you molded it into something that was more personal. So I was wondering if you could speak about that.
Yeah, well, my first script with Smithereens, which was set in sort of downtown New York and the East Village, made for about $40,000. Was I didn't expect it to be successful, to be quite honest. And when it was, I knew that suddenly I had an agent, and I knew that I had to be really smart about what I was going to do next. So after reading a lot of bad scripts for about a year, I finally got a script called Desperately Seeking Susan, which had my name in it. I didn't put my name in it. But what I liked about it was that it was partially set in the world that I had grown up in, which was the suburbs of Philadelphia, but also partially set in the downtown New York City, where I had been living for a bunch of years and felt comfortable. So I sort of felt like I could relate to the Rosanna Arquette character as well as the Madonna character. And the other thing, I mean, maybe you all know this already, but one of the things that was different and special about this, especially back in 1984, was that the two producers were women. The screenwriter Leora Barish was a woman. Midge Sanford, Sarah Pillsbury were the producers. Two female leads that actually are active and have an adventure, which was really rare for movies back in, certainly in the 70s and the early 80s. And, I would be the director. So it was a very female driven project. And the studio that made it, the person that gave us the green light to allow us to make it, was a woman. So I felt comfortable making this movie. I didn't feel like I would be kind of overpowered or have a heavy-handed executive looking over my shoulder. And so going from Smithereens indie film to this didn't feel as scary as I thought it might.
Smithereens is very much kind of a punk film, and this is sort of a new wave film. And I was wondering if that was a conscious,
It's not conscious, but I tried to kind of put my finger on the pulse of the time that I was working in. And New York City, when I started Smithereens, which was in 1980, was coming out of that bankruptcy crisis, and it was really gritty. By 84, it was getting slightly gentrified, but it was still kind of gritty. And because this really is a fairy tale in a way. I mean, I've said this before, but the inspiration for the story in some way is Alice in Wonderland, the bored little girl who follows this mysterious creature down a rabbit hole into Wonderland. I saw the parallels of this is a bored suburban or unhappy suburban housewife following the mysterious Susan down across a bridge into Manhattan. And so we intentionally wanted to make Manhattan feel like Wonderland. So we took the grit, because I love the grit about downtown New York, but we lit it. Ed Lockman, the cinematographer, lit it with really interesting colored gels to keep the grittiness, but make it magical.
I wanted to ask you about working with all these sort of technicians at the time and craftspeople like Ed, but also the costume designer. And as well the location manager. So I was wondering if you talk about that whole team, because I remember reading that there were a few crews that worked in New York, and that the crew that you ended up getting for this film was the kind of Woody Allen.
The Woody Allen,
Yeah.
The funky crew.
Yeah.
Well, I worked, it's really important, not only, film is collaborative, so the people, you have to have a relationship with the people in front of the camera, but also the people behind the camera. They also enable you to make the kind of film we all wanted to make. And so working with Ed and also Santo Lacosto, who had done some early Woody Allen movies, he was the production designer and the costume designer because of the budget. It was like a 2-for-1 budget. So but the advantage of that was that he could coordinate the frame. He could help me coordinate the frame so that the clothing, that everything in the frame, what the people were wearing and what they were sitting on and what was on the walls behind them, all felt unified.
Is it true that that a lot of the costuming for Madonna is actually from Madonna's wardrobe? Or is that like a...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he went to her, she was living not that far from where we are right now. She was living on Broome Street at the time. And he went over to the loft she was living in, and went through her closet with her. And you can see some of the stuff. I mean, you can see there's the scene where they're sitting at the Magic Club and she's wearing an orange cut-off sweatshirt, and it says MC on it. Clearly that came from her closet. But the interesting thing was the jacket that became so much a part of Madonna's image or visual image of that time was something that Santo had designed that she wasn't crazy about originally. So that was the design of the jacket with the pyramid on the back was in the script. The pyramid being kind of a mystical symbol, but also being this symbol on the dollar bill. So it had a material girl significance as well.
Considering we have Robert with us, I just wanted to ask about the casting.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I got to work with a lot of great people. I mean, I think what happened, New York at that time, we were all kind of starting out young and eager, and the cast kind of falls into two different categories. There were, and most of the cast members really, this was maybe their first or second or very early film. So I worked with Billy Hopkins and Lisa Brayman, the casting directors, and they knew all the up-and-coming young theater talent and people who were just starting to appear in movies. And so they put together this incredible group of people who were so enthusiastic. And I had, coming out of Smithereens and having made this punk movie, kind of knew the downtown music people. I mean, there are little vignettes when you watch the movie, you'll see Arto Lindsay, who was in a band at the time, popping up as the guy in the newspaper. The newsstand.
Yeah.
Richard Hell is the gangster in Atlantic City. John Lurie's playing the sax. Richard Edson. You'll see all these sort of Rocket's Red Glare. So it was a great combination of young actors who were just breaking out and authentic downtown people to kind of give the film credibility and make it feel authentic. And with that in mind, I actually would like, if you don't mind me doing this, Robert, coming up so everyone can see.
Jimmy.
I remember the thing that I had seen that you were in, I think it was Atlantic City.
Oh, that would be right.
And that was the thing I watched that said, I loved your performance and I wanted to work with you.
Oh, it was a great, great thrill. I had the extra help in my callback audition. Do you remember this? That Madonna was there,
Yeah.
and she really helped.
She was very enthusiastic.
She was, she sort of draped herself over me, sort of like she made the chemistry work.
Yeah. Did you know who you beat out for that part?
I think I might. Am I allowed to say?
Yeah, sure.
I heard that Bruce Willis.
Yeah, it was Bruce Willis. He was sort of,
Interested in that part.
He was interested and he auditioned up till the end with Madonna at the end. And the funny anecdote about that is, and I write about this in my book, is that he didn't get the part, and he was the bartender at our wrap party.
At the West Bank Cafe. He used to work there.
He worked there.
But then at the wrap party.
And then because he didn't get the part, he decided to go out to LA and try, acting out there. And he got pretty shortly thereafter, he got cast as the lead in Moonlighting.
Yeah.
Which then led to this other
amazing career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of, I think about Laurie Metcalf. This was her first.
Oh, amazing.
Will Patton.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito, who you might see as just that brief cameo in
He's selling the hats.
Yeah, he's selling the hats on 8th Street there.
Yeah,
on St. Mark's Place. Yeah.
Exactly. And Mark Blum, who sadly
passed
away during COVID. Yeah.
And John Turturro.
John Turturro in the Metrograph.
Astounding. Yeah.
It's a good time to open up to the audience. Do you have questions? Right here in the second row.
That's you. Yeah. Did you have a question? No.
You raise your hand. Yeah. Just wait. There's a microphone for you behind you.
Thank you. Your movies have inspired so many people to get into the industry. What was the movie that made it all click for you?
I didn't get that.
The movies that inspired you to get into the industry.
To get into movies. I always liked movies with feisty female characters, and there was one director, it was an Italian director, one of the few female directors who were making movies and bigger movies in the 70s, and that was Lena Wertmuller.
Oh my God, Swept Away.
Yeah, Swept Away.
Seven Beauties.
In fact, has anyone seen Seven Beauties here? Because I loved that movie and loved Lena Wertmuller, the prison guard, who puts Madonna and Rosanna in jail, the larger lady, was the lead actress. Shirley Stoller is her name.
She's so great.
Yeah. But I in the 70s, most of the movies were sort of male buddy movies, Redford and Paul Newman, or, they were all guys having an adventure. So for me, as one of the earlier women who had the opportunity to make feature films, it was really important to make movies with women protagonists that were having fun and having an adventure and were not just passively.
I'm going to ask a follow-up to that is, there were filmmakers like Claudia Weil and Joan Micklin Silver, and I was wondering if you, as sort of New York-based filmmakers, whether you were aware of each other.
Those were the only two that I knew of, actually, and Elaine May. I knew who she was. I didn't know her, but there were very few. And again, I had heard horror stories, and maybe again because I talk about it in my book, I can. Like Claudia Weil, who had made this lovely independent movie called Girlfriends, that was really lovely. And then she kind of went out to Hollywood and had a very heavy-handed male producer standing over her shoulders while she made her next movie. And I think it wasn't a satisfying experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just didn't want that to happen. So I was so glad that Mitch and Sarah came along. Yeah.
Yes, here.
Hi, Susan. The movie is so brilliant. You know, I've been watching it for many, many years, and everything that plays out, I love all the elements that tell the story. And I just wondered if were there any parts of the movie that were filmed that were impromptu? Because I imagine like the scene when Roberta falls on the table and the street vendor, like that felt like impromptu. But were there any moments that were impromptu?
I'm sorry, I have bad ears.
Were there any moments that were impromptu?
Yeah,
I
oh
could
yeah.
sort of think, I was watching it just now,
Yeah,
and
what do you think?
when Aiden, when they finally kiss, you know, in his apartment, and then he takes her in his arms on the floor and starts to get up, and then he
And
falls back,
yeah,
and then he still gets up there. Nobody yelled cut and do it over.
Yeah, well, it looked messy enough.
Oh,
I mean,
it
the
looked wonderfully
thing that is nice is, you know, I know that this is a twisted screwball comedy. It's a screwball comedy that we're all playing with. But I liked a little bit of messiness in it, just to keep it authentic and real, and, you know, so it didn't look too slick. So that was a mistake. He fell.
Yeah.
And it just looked kind of cool, so
Oh, it's
we left
perfect.
it in.
And then how about the ducks and the
Yeah,
doves?
we
You know?
couldn't, I couldn't
All-
direct the,
Yeah, you couldn't direct the bird.
yeah.
They added a great, and the cat. The animals in it are brilliant.
The other, and again, I mentioned this before because it's good to give it credit where it's due, that one of my favorite little improv things is Madonna lifting her armpits.
Oh, and drying them on
And
the.
drying. It was written that she dried her face,
Uh-huh.
but then she on set turned the blower around and did that, and that, you know, was
She was so
brilliant.
cool. I mean,
Yeah.
acting with her, and she hadn't really done a feature film before, so.
No.
Right,
She'd
so-
just been, she had been in the background, I guess, of Vision Quest.
Is that
A movie
right?
called Vision Quest, where she played, you know, band member 2.
Wow.
that kind of a credit. But she had started to do videos, which I had seen on MTV. In fact, it was Borderline that really, you know, I had watched and thought she looked great and knew how to flirt with the camera. I knew that the camera liked her and she liked the camera. And I thought, you know, if I can capture that on celluloid.
I was really impressed by how she could relax into what she was comfortable with and make everything work without apparent effort, you know.
Yeah, you know, but that is a skill. You know, it's interesting when somebody says, "Oh, somebody's just being themselves."
No.
You know what it's like. There's 50 people standing around you, like 4 feet away, and you have little marks on the floor. You have to hit your light and your mark, and you have to say all the lines were pretty much scripted because the movie really is a puzzle. You know, and all the puzzle pieces needed to fit together. And that was my biggest fear in the editing room, because we were shooting it out of water, was that all the puzzle pieces might not fit. But, you know, they did. And that was because the script was pretty, almost not mathematical, but it was very structured.
Towards the back in the middle. Bearded gentleman.
That's me.
That's
I love this movie so much.
Thank you.
I actually just wanted to ask you about Anne Carlisle. This was the first time that I noticed her in the movie and realized who she is.
Yeah.
I love this guy also. Just how did she end up fitting?
Yeah. Again, my goal was to put as many downtown people, to populate the downtown world with authentic people, and Anne Carlisle had just done had done Liquid Sky, maybe 2 years earlier, and she came in, we met, and I thought she would be great. The same with Anne Magnuson, who I then used a couple of years later in making Mr. Right. But at the time, I just knew her from a club called Club 57 that was kind of a popular place to hang out downtown. Even in your band, Annie Golden.
Oh, Annie Golden.
Annie Golden was in a band called The Shirts that used to play, I think, at CBGB's.
That's right. And she had that great line about, we have to pee in bottles.
Yeah. What is this, Woodstock? Yeah.
What is this, Woodstock? Was that scripted?
No.
Oh, there you
that
go.
wasn't scripted.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, as a 66-year-old woman, I want to thank you for capturing my 20s. I have watched this movie every year. Today is the 40th anniversary of MTV. I was the script coordinator for the VJs for the first 8 years. And what I just love, you captured just how organic everything was at that time. And it's still, like, this is not a dated movie, even though it has the specific music and the clothes, because you just capture what it's like to be in your 20s and the world is open to you. And this is such a gift, and I just really want to thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. You never know whether something is going to pass the test of time, and you can't try for that. You just have to try to make something that feels authentic and real at the time you're making it, and then hope that the story, even more important than the story, that the theme, the idea of being your more adventurous self, your authentic self, is timeless enough that other generations will relate to it.
We have time for one last question. Yes, in the third row. There's my question.
Hi, I'm visiting from Europe, so I was quite surprised to hear the movie opening with a different song. But that's not my question. I heard about an alternate ending with the women riding on the desert, in the desert on a camel. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, there was another ending. There was another ending in the script, and there was another ending that we actually filmed. It was the scripted ending was that the two women, the last scene is that they end up, after they win, they get the reward for the stolen earrings. They end up in Egypt, and we see them both in the desert on camera, on camels. And we were gonna optically put in a pyramid in the background. And we shot this in a sand pit in New Jersey. And there was also another scene that you were in. It was the scene with the two guys in a bar wondering where the women had gone to. Kind of getting drunk and wondering what happened to the women. Then we see the women in Egypt. And what happened is that during we did a bunch of preview screenings. And what happened was that the ending that you see right now came up. The music came up, the couples are reunited, and I could feel in the preview screening that the audience was getting up out of their seat because it felt like an ending.
Yeah.
And then the film went on for another 5 minutes with the bar scene and the camel scene. And as much as I liked the camels, the idea of the camels, I realized that it felt like it had ended. And so rather than letting the film have too many endings, we just...
And to end it in a movie theater, too, there's become a kind of an iconic thing. I see it in all kinds of weird context, that scene. You know, they showed it on the Oscars one time just to sort of indicate the love of going to movies and eating popcorn.
And it's also a kind of meta ending because
Yeah.
the screen, their kiss burns up the screen and the celluloid burns. So that just felt like the right ending.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's meta on the level that it's Bleecker Street Cinema, which no longer
No longer exists. The Bleecker Street Cinema.
Yeah.
Perfect
CVS
ending.
Pharmacy now. Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.